Welcome to Keys Open Doors. Today, we're breaking down the modular home delivery and setup process. You know, if you're a first-time or aspiring home buyer, the whole idea of having an entire house literally delivered on the back of a truck, well, it can feel a little like science fiction, right? But I promise you, once you understand the nuts and bolts of how it actually works, it's an incredibly efficient, absolutely fascinating process.
So here's our quick roadmap to move-in day. We're going to cover preparing your build site, clearing the delivery route, the set day erection process, and finally, your exterior and interior finishing responsibilities. Understanding exactly who does what really takes the overwhelm out of the whole thing.
All right, let's jump right into phase 1, preparing your build site. Now, before we prep the site, let's make sure we're speaking the exact same language. When industry folks say the word module, what are they talking about? Well, we're really just talking about a massive three-dimensional puzzle piece of your future home. It's built perfectly inside a climate-controlled factory, safely wrapped up, and then shipped out to become a permanent part of your foundation.
As a quick reminder, and we'll touch on this a few times, this explainer is general guidance, right? Your specific lot will always dictate your exact requirements. But generally speaking, site prep kicks off with you or your general contractor pulling all those necessary local building permits. After that, your permanent foundation gets poured and leveled. But here's a super critical logistical step that so many buyers completely overlook. You absolutely have to clear two distinct, completely level 30 by 60 foot spaces right next to your foundation. Why? One is for the massive delivery transporter, and the other is for the crane itself. Without that giant staging area, the equipment literally cannot operate safely.
Okay, let's dive right into phase 2, clearing the delivery route.
So your foundation is poured, the site is prepped, but how do we actually get a whole house down your street? You've got to remember, these modules are traveling on tractor trailers that can be up to 75 feet long. So you need to trace the exact route from the nearest main town all the way to your driveway. In general, these transporters need a minimum road width of 15 feet, an overhead clearance of 14 feet, and any bridges along the route, they absolutely must be able to handle at least a 15-ton weight limit. Plus, you've got to account for wide turning radiuses if you happen to live on a narrow, winding road.
Basically, this means you have to plan ahead. You want to inspect the whole area for low tree limbs, sagging power lines, or, say, big boulders right at the end of your driveway. And the reason is simple. Delays on delivery day cost serious money. If a giant crane and a transport crew are just sitting there idling while someone breaks out a chainsaw to clear a stray branch, well, you're paying for that idle time. Coordinating with your crane contractor early to knock out those obstacles is vital, truly.
Moving on to phase 3, the set day erection process, the really fun part.
We have arrived at the most exciting phase of the entire journey, set day. This is the day your empty foundation magically transforms into a recognizable house, honestly, often in just a matter of hours. To really get set day, you first need to know what a marriage wall is. You're going to hear this term a lot. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's simply the seam where two adjacent modules meet and are structurally bolted together. The set crew will place a foam gasket or an energy seal all along this perimeter. That way, when the pieces actually join, your home is super insulated, weather-tight, and perfectly secure. You also need to know about lally columns. These are the heavy-duty steel support columns that go right in your basement to hold up the center weight of the house. For many buyers doing a basement set, it's actually your responsibility to make sure these columns are on site, cut to the exact required length, and completely ready to go before the modules even show up.
The crane operation itself is just a fascinating display of precision. The crew drills holes to attach these heavy-duty lifting cables and spreader bars directly to the module. As the massive crane lifts it up, the crew uses ropes to guide it in the air, carefully lowering one outside corner just a tiny bit before the rest. This ensures it catches the foundation perfectly. Once it rests, they use mechanical come-alongs to pull those huge sections incredibly tight against that marriage wall before bolting them permanently into place.
Now, it's incredibly important for buyers to understand the division of labor here. The manufacturer's set crew, they are there to lift the house, bolt the modules safely together, fold out the roof, and make the main structure weather-tight. Basically, they do the heavy structural lifting. But it's usually up to the buyer or the buyer's general contractor to handle the finishings. We're talking caulking, interior trim, installing HVAC systems, the whole shebang.
Let's move to phase 4 and see how this builds out with your exterior finishing responsibilities.
Okay, so the cranes are gone, the set crew has packed up and driven off, and now it's time for your side to take over and turn this structure into a completed, living, breathing home. First up on the outside, you have to protect the exterior. While a lot of the siding is actually done back in the factory, the gable ends, those triangular peaks up near the roof, and the areas where the modules actually join together, those will need to be finished on site. It's your responsibility to ensure building wrap is properly applied to any exposed surfaces before that final siding goes up.
Next, the house needs its lifelines. You'll need to coordinate the trenching and piping to hook the home up to either your private well and septic system or the municipal public water and sewer lines. The factory stubs out the plumbing beneath the first floor, but tying all of that into the earth, that's an essential local step you have to manage.
Finally, for the outside, you get to do the finishing touches. This means installing the gutters and downspouts to direct rainwater safely away from your brand new foundation. It also means pouring your walkways, building your entrance steps or decks, and mounting those beautiful exterior light fixtures. Honestly, seeing these elements go up is incredibly empowering because it really signals that you are in the home stretch.
Now, what's really interesting about Phase 5 is moving indoors for the interior finishing responsibilities.
Just like the outside, the factory does about 80 to 90% of the work inside, but buttoning up those final details is what truly makes the house a home. Remember that marriage wall we talked about earlier? Well, where the two modules connected, there's naturally going to be a seam running right through the center of your house. Your interior finishing job is to make that seam completely vanish. You'll install drywall patches, splice the floor sheathing together, add baseboards across the gap, and seam the carpets or flooring so that it looks exactly like one continuous, beautiful space.
Moving on to the home's systems, it's time to connect the plumbing and HVAC. Now, the pipes were factory tested, but think about this for a second. Your house just bounced down the highway at 55 miles an hour. Threaded connections and supply lines can, and absolutely do, loosen up during transport. It is a highly critical responsibility of your local plumber to retest all pressurized water systems and tighten everything back up before you even think about turning the main water on.
And the exact same logic applies to your electricity. The factory brilliantly ran all the wires inside the walls and identified all the connection points between the modules. However, actually connecting your home's internal electrical panel to the outside main utility service, that requires a locally licensed electrical contractor. They ensure everything is safe and meets your specific local municipal code.
Finally, we have the final sweep. I always like to reassure buyers on this point. Minor drywall cracks above doors or windows are totally 100% normal. Again, the house traveled on a truck and was hoisted by a giant crane, a quick pass of spackle, a little paint touch-up, adjusting the hinges so the interior doors click shut perfectly, and then a deep clean. That's really all it takes to get to the finish line.
As we wrap up this explainer, please remember that building codes, soil conditions, and terrain vary wildly from town to town. This roadmap is a fantastic general education tool, but in general, you must always consult your local zoning office, your general contractor, and licensed professionals to navigate the highly specific requirements of your unique lot.
Because at the end of the day, careful planning is what turns an empty piece of dirt into your dream home. Knowing your responsibilities ahead of time completely removes the stress from the process. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, you're ready. Which phase of the setup process surprised you the most? Let us know down below. Keys open doors, helping you unlock your path to homeownership. If this helped, like, comment, and subscribe.